me paint you a picture. You've got a flight, you're late to the airport, the security line snakes halfway around the goddamn terminal, but you have a secret weapon. Everything you're flying with has been labeled TSA Approved. You bought all of your shit, confident that it would be your express ticket through airport security, but then it happens. A rogue TSA agent emerges from the shadows, they flag your bag, and you get pulled aside for additional screening.
Not so fast, Richie. Okay.
Suddenly, that TSA Approved label feels less like a guarantee and more like a sad joke. Welcome to the reality of TSA security checkpoints. What's going on, Pocket Theory? It's your main man, Suds, coming to you from my home office here in Austin, Texas. What are we talking about today? The holiday travel season is fast approaching, and like every year, many of us are planning to fly somewhere for Thanksgiving or Christmas. I assume if you're watching my channel that you are an everyday carry nerd and that you encounter some of the same gear challenges that I encounter whenever I travel by air, which are, what should I take with me? What should I leave at home? What will I need? What will I not need? And what am I allowed to take on a plane? Well, the more accurate question is not actually what can you take on a plane, but rather, what can you carry through a TSA security checkpoint? And depending on who you are and how often you travel, the answer may or may not surprise you. The truth is, for the majority of retail products, the term TSA Approved is a marketing tool designed to give you a sense of compliance and security, both for you and your belongings. But the myth of TSA Approved is simply not supported by the agency's own published rules. And in this video, I'm going to break down why travelers, especially EDC heads like you and I, should stop relying on the concept of TSA Approved and start paying attention to reality when it comes to packing for a flight. For those of you who don't travel or who live outside of the US or live under a rock, the Transportation Security Administration is a US government agency that protects America's transportation systems, including airplanes, trains, and buses. They screen passengers and their belongings in an effort to prevent violence and enforce security regulations. The TSA was created shortly after the events of September 11, 2001 through the Aviation and Transportation Security Act. Their main objective is to prevent items that pose a threat to aviation security from entering the airport and making it onboard an aircraft. And that's it. The primary focus of the TSA is screening for weapons and explosives. Anything that could pose a direct threat to the safety of an aircraft or the passengers will not be allowed through a TSA checkpoint. All types of weapons, including firearms, knives, and martial arts items are not allowed. So all you meth Rambos, Gravy Seals, and Mall Ninjas, triple check your goddamn pockets before you travel, and for Christ's sake, leave the nunchucks at home. Do people sneak weapons through TSA checkpoints? Yes, all the time. Should you count on that happening? Yeah, only if you're a complete dumbass. If a weapon is discovered during a TSA screening, the officer will stop the process. They will contact local law enforcement. This can result in you being detained, arrested, fined, or jailed. Worse yet, you could lose your precious TSA pre-check eligibility. With regard to other contraband, the TSA, they're not the cops. Generally speaking, they are not actively searching for things like drugs. That means your pills, your weed pen, and your little baggie of gack. That's not what they're looking for. The TSA's primary mission is aviation security, not drug enforcement. Now, if you get caught with drugs, understand the discovery of any illegal items could lead to law enforcement involvement. So, my advice, as always, is to never be flagrant about anything you do and always be polite. Basic rules of life, kids. But back to the lecture at hand. You and I are EDCP, everyday carry people. A lot of us carry tools daily like pocket knives that other people like in organizations like the TSA, have classified as weapons. They can't stop me from traveling with old thunder and lightning, but they can flag me for having a blade on my multi-tool. And if you're somebody that carries a pew-pew or a knife on them all the time, then obviously your EDC does not comply with the TSA, and you'll have no choice but to modify your carry if you want to advance through the TSA checkpoint and get on your plane. So what does TSA Approved actually signify? Well, the most common legitimate application is for luggage locks. And here, the term does have a specific functional meaning. When a lock is labeled TSA Approved, it usually means that it uses Travel Sentry or Safe Skies systems. These are not government agencies, by the way. These are independent companies that licensed technology to lock manufacturers. What the license grants is the use of a universal master key system. If the TSA needs to inspect a checked bag with one of these locks, they can use one of their master keys to open it without cutting the lock. That's it. The official distinction here is the approval is only about the lock mechanism, nothing else. For any other retail product, the term TSA approved is almost completely unregulated. The TSA does not have an official product certification program, and there is no panel of judges sitting in a room inspecting one item at a time. This item is approved. So unless we're specifically talking about luggage locks, TSA approved is an outright myth. The more accurate term, I suppose, would be TSA friendly, but even that lends a false sense of compliance. TSA friendly is not a term created or endorsed by the actual TSA. It's still just a gimmick employed by companies to sell you merchandise. It's not an ironclad guarantee of jack shit. It's a marketing claim based on the manufacturer's interpretation of the rules. It's not an endorsement from the TSA. If you're thinking about packing any questionable item, just ask yourself, why do you need to fly with this in the first place? If you aren't going to need that specific item on the airplane, why are you even carrying it? The only plausible answer might be you're not checking a bag, but you are going to need a specific item when you arrive at your destination, something you might not be able to source locally. If this is the case, unless you're a tradesman doing a job that depends on a specific tool, then think very hard about what you actually need. Need is a tricky word for EDC people. We think we need to carry a lot of shit. Most of us don't, especially when we're flying. If there are legitimately non-negotiable items that you must take with you, and any of those items have the potential to get you flagged by the TSA, my honest advice would be simply consider checking a bag. If that's just not an option for you, then you really do need to have appropriate expectations. You could be delayed, you could lose your property. I made a statement in a previous video that anything you take through a TSA checkpoint is subject to confiscation, and that's not entirely true, so I wanted to make a slight correction. TSA agents do not have the authority to confiscate your property. However, they do have absolute authority to stop you from passing through their checkpoint, so when an item gets flagged, what happens more often than not is that the individual voluntarily surrenders that object in order to proceed. So you don't have to give it up. You have the option of retaining your property and leaving, but that means you're not getting on your flight. The most critical factor is the official TSA policy found on their website, which clearly states, the final decision rests with the TSA officer on whether an item is allowed through the checkpoint. I'm going to repeat that. The final decision rests with the TSA officer on whether an item is allowed through the checkpoint. Now, some airports are nice enough to provide a mailing station so you can box up a piece of property and mail it home to yourself, but don't count on that. You could also just throw it away, but the point is, the agent is the final authority. You can argue with them till you're blue in the face. You can talk to the supervisor. You can send a tersely worded email to the manager after the fact, Karen, but none of that will matter on the day that you're traveling. You won't be allowed to proceed through the TSA checkpoint. Your travel plans will be affected. End of story. The ultimate problem is that even if a product aligns perfectly with the TSA's rules, it runs headfirst into the most unpredictable variable in the airport, human discretion. Right or wrong, when in doubt, the agent has the final say. Have I made that point clear? Perfect example, I carry a Leatherman style PS on my keychain every day, and I used to take that on trips because it doesn't have a knife and it complies with TSA regulations. It's TSA friendly. I used to carry it on trips until it got flagged at an out-of-state airport on my return flight home. I tried explaining it to the lady. There's no knife, it's not a weapon, but she was not having any of it. I just wanted to get on my plane. I was already running late. Guess what happened? I gave up the PS and I flew home. When I flew to Japan, I had a Bic lighter in my carry-on because lighters are allowed in America. On the flight back, Japan doesn't allow lighters. So there was literally a giant drum full of surrendered lighters at the Japanese checkpoint. Now, nobody said a thing. They just surrendered their lighters. If my Bic had been an expensive Zippo, I would have been pissed.
The same shit happened to the same guy twice.
The best example for me is the Victorinox Jet Setter. You and I know that it's not a knife. The problem is the Jet Setter looks just like every other Swiss Army knife. Any responsible TSA agent is gonna want a closer inspection to verify that it's not a weapon. And if you look at it from the agent's point of view, it's a no-brainer. So what if they flag your item incorrectly? Big deal. They're not going to get in any trouble for that. But if they let a weapon through a checkpoint, it's obviously not going to look good for them. They're going to err on the side of caution, and your property is never going to be their top priority. So your Jet Setter, your Swiss card, your Style PS, your Next Tool Mini Sailor, your Gerber Dime, your expensive titanium pry bar, your dumbass Nux and tactical pens, they're all at risk of being lost if you take them through a TSA checkpoint. In the case of my Style PS, Leatherman doesn't make it anymore, so I can't just replace it easily. It's gone. Fortunately, I have multiple backups, but I will never fly with one again. They're just too precious to lose for a dumb reason. Lesson learned. The bottom line here is do not count on the TSA to make the right call 100% of the time. Do not allow TSA agents to decide the fate of your EDC gear. Knowing the rules is only part of the airport game. There is no such thing as 100% certainty when the final authority is human discretion. Worst case scenario, you lose property. Best case scenario, your time is wasted. Neither one of those options should make you happy. And for those of you self-involved assholes thinking, I don't care, I arrive early, I got plenty of time to kill. Besides, it's not my fault that they are stopping me. Yes, it is. You're a dumbass. Even if you have time to kill, causing a slight delay is not a good thing. If everyone behaved like you, all those slight delays would add up to long lines all of the time. Quit being selfish. People with main character syndrome are one of the hugest problems on planet Earth right now, period. You are not important, your problems are not important to other people, your desire to carry questionable shit through a TSA checkpoint is wasting time. Wasting other people's time is never cool. And listen, I'm not judging anyone. I understand many of us feel married to our EDC gear, I get it. What I am suggesting is this. Air travel might be a great excuse to reevaluate your behavior. What do I mean by that? Well, let's talk about cruising, for example. It's a divisive pastime. Some vacationers love cruising. Some people hate cruising. I'm in the middle somewhere. I've had good times on cruises. I've had bad times on cruises. But one of the things I always enjoyed about cruising was that the Wi-Fi always sucks on cruise ships. So it's the perfect opportunity to separate yourself from your cell phone, something everyone agrees we should all do more often. The same philosophy could apply to your everyday carry gear. For a lot of us in the EDC community, the stuff that we carry every day becomes almost like an adult security blanket. If we leave home without any of it, suddenly we feel naked or unprepared. It's probably not a good thing in the grand scheme. Your wits are all you really need 99% of the time. Use the experience of commercial airline travel as an exercise in minimalism. Don't think of it as being restricted. Think of it as an opportunity to unplug, so to speak, and divorce yourself from those comfort items that you constantly carry in your pockets. Just a simple change of perspective could make the whole travel experience way more enjoyable. So what's the takeaway here? Should you throw out all of your specialized TSA approved EDC travel gear? No, of course not. But you should change the way you think about the TSA approved label. Understand, it's just a marketing gimmick. It's a sales pitch. And if you choose to fly with anything questionable, you need to have realistic expectations. My advice is this. Human beings are inherently flawed. All of us. Don't leave the fate of your EDC gear to a human agent. And for God's sake, never trust anybody in marketing.
Life is pain, Highness. Anyone who says differently is selling something.
Only trust official information, like the rules on the TSA's website. Are you flying soon? Spend 5 minutes reading and understanding the rules before you even start packing. In the end, your seamless journey through the airport is not guaranteed by some marketing gimmick. It's earned with knowledge and preparation. Until next time, Pocket Theory, safe travels. We hope you enjoy the holidays. When it comes to TSA-friendly items, just remember, think outside the box, be creative with your gear, and have fun with your EDC. This is Suds with Pocket Theory.
The last thing I want to be remembered as is an annoying blabbermouth.
Carry what you want.